In response to the flurry of inquiries that have been coming to NINA Secretariat concerning where we are in what we set out to do with constitutional force majeure, here's our response. Here's our answer. You will recall that the stated objective, the ground objective of the constitutional force majeure in the attempt to implement the consensus we had built against the constitution of death was to target the election as the venue for the fight for what will happen, to target that 2023 election in a manner that will collapse the election in circumstances that revolve around the constitution itself. That's we are rejecting the election on account of our rejection of that constitution and the unitary union of death it imposes on us in that order. Look at this domino 2, and if we back pedal to domino 1, you will see clearly coming from your right towards the left, you will see the pillar we marked election, the next pillar constitution, the next pillar union, and underneath the pillar of election you will see the lever of the three blocks, focusing their efforts together. You see the arrow that they press, they pressure together in one direction to topple the election as a mark of their rejection of the constitution that make them, slaves in their homeland. Our report today is that that strategic objective has been met. You may argue as you deem fit amongst those who do not know how such things are done. Those who were expecting people to, because when people heard about force majeure, they thought there would be riot on the street. The system was already sharpening its machete to behead people who are coming to do. They didn't know it was a very sophisticated thing that will put election in disarray. And we were saying it every day for 3 years. You see, this election, we'll do whatever we need to do to sabotage it from producing an outcome that will stand. And that is a mark of our rejection of the constitution by which the winner of that election will govern. And when that constitution goes down from the angle it will be attacked, then we'll come to the realization that we have no union. That union that is erected upon that constitution will go down with that constitution. Where are we today? The election went as badly as it could go, such that the system had to sacrifice the constitution to save the election. That was what the Supreme Court did in October of 2023. That was what INEC was doing at the time they were declaring the one who didn't win the election. They both waived the 25% required by that. It was the pressure from all the sides that they were just trying to rescue something from, because the people had woken up. Everybody was now doing things they would normally not have done before. And so bottom line is that the election went into a spin. The system had to sacrifice the constitution to save the election. And then we're interpreting their actions to them now. The union is at an end because the constitution that held it together, you buried it. Remember in the broadcast where we were telling them that if they chose to waive that 25%, it means that that constitution which we have been trying to put to death has now been abandoned to die on the street by the Supreme Court, and that we're going to join them. We are joining them. Where we're going now is that we're going to demonstrate that there's no union. And if anybody is wondering how we came to that conclusion, the National Assembly that wants to write a new constitution has only confirmed to all of you that the constitution by which we have been operating, by which we have been unionized against our will, is dead. That's why they're looking for a new one. If the constitution was still alive, they would be doing the amendment and boasting. And so the strategic objective for the constitutional force majeure, look at it. Election down, constitution down, union down. The only thing remaining now, transition. Transition to go and rework the union in terms of who and who wants to federate. They will identify themselves by referendum. Then they will describe, they will define the formations in which they are going to relate. That's what becomes the structure, whether they want to be in 4 regions or 6 regions or whatever be the formation, but certainly not 36 states. For the lunatics that are talking about carving out more of this, you know, we are the vanguard of the campaign. NINAS is the vanguard framework for the campaign for self-determination for the constituent components, meaning that little Isoko, little Ogun, little Ishekiri, all of them will be, you know, in their space in that self-determination. They will be custodians and operators of their sovereignty. So to that extent, we will say confidently that Nigeria has been brought to where we wanted it to land. A logjam, a constitutional logjam. If anybody thinks that what happened on February 25 in 2023 has become basis for a 4-year presidential term that will not be challenged by anything, no. The election ended inconclusive. The outcome remains the, you know, interregnum. What you are celebrating as a president is, yes, there's somebody in government house pretending to be Nigeria's president, but the Supreme Court will not place itself. We will not allow, since the right to make constitution is exclusive to the sovereign constituent components, and we have laid a charge against the legitimacy of the constitution that was imposed on us. Nobody is able to make constitution and impose on us, including the one Absalom Abaka did. And so, if we are tolerating that for us to get peacefully to the table of discussion, and then the Supreme Court that is a product of that constitution will now abandon that constitution and place itself above the prescriptions of that constitution, we are the ones saying, let's take down this constitution. But until we get to that discussion table, we also said it in that our force majeure, let those who have not read that constitutional force majeure, for their own good, for their own sake, their ignorance will only afflict them, will only cause them to perish, like the Bible already condemned them. Because we stated clearly why we are saying what we are saying and why we are going to do what we are doing, what we are going to do. We said clearly that if after all the consultations we can't find common ground, then we will step forward to where we reconsider our allegiance to that constitution. What is the meaning of a reconsideration of allegiance? Go and read the operative part. If you can't read all, read the operative part, where that 5-point proposition, you know, were listed. From the word accordingly downwards. From the word accordingly. When you are reading some charter or some kind of resolution, when you come to the word accordingly, pay attention, because that is now the action that will follow from all of what has been laid out. And so we are saying that the constitutional force majeure succeeded 100% in its objectives in bringing Nigeria to that constitutional logjam. You can see we are not at war. I think there's confusion, but at least we are still discussing. I mean, it's still being discussed. It may not be in a round table setting. There are people sitting in Abuja and talking over our heads about what they're going to do. There are others sitting or standing in Civic Center in Lagos saying, you must now call a meeting of the sovereign constituent components, who will have to decide how to reconfigure their union. And if they can't get it, if for any reason they are not able to find common ground, we must disperse forthwith. That is where, so the discussion is going on everywhere. But NINAS is trying to bring it to where it can produce an outcome. What is that outcome? Successor protocols. Whether as one political union or independent units of successor sovereign state entities that will emerge from the defunct Federation of Nigeria. There's a country we still call Nigeria. But it's no longer a project. The federation we agreed upon in Lancaster House died in 1966. Those who hijacked the carcass, waving the Nigerian flag and singing Nigerian anthem, as if the hood makes the monk. Even if you force little children or everybody that you can control to sing this anthem 10 times every day as a matter of recitation and recite the pledge, how does that become replacement for what is supposed to be the social contract? For what is supposed to be the social contract, the constitution that I have to agree with you on how we unionize, how we federate. It doesn't replace it. And shame on all of those who gather to sing the falsehood and recite the falsehood. Every stanza. Arise, O compatriots. Who are those compatriots? The Buhari that is leading his people, his Fulani people, to come to kill everybody else? Then we go and pretend that is our compatriot. Or the ones who are sitting in Abuja and sharing trillions while watching the citizens die on the street from hunger. They are not my compatriots. Anybody who can swear to defend and uphold this abomination, that take life from me, that point guns at me, that seize my economic assets, is not my compatriot. Especially if he subscribes to any worldview that requires him to kill me, like the ones who are doing Sharia. They are not my compatriots at all. Nigerians call obey. Obey a monster. Look at the ones who have been obeying that monster. Look at how their lives are turned. To serve Nigeria with all your strength. Or I pledge to Nigeria, my country. Are you serious? Why are there agitations all over the place? Why have you not gone to a referendum to defeat that agitation? I pledge to Nigeria, my country. You know for sure that if there are 100 people in the room, there could be more than 95 that are crossing at that Nigeria as you are reciting all together. So you decide to lie to yourself. You build your country on a pile of lies that begins with we the people having committed to live together. How can we sustain this lie any further? That pile of lies, the Ninas is leading the charge to dismantle that pile of lies. In that dismantling, first we remove violence because we persuaded all of those who were pointing guns at everybody to say, including government, here's how we can solve it. We put a process step by step to it. We have identified the units all across. There's no portion of Nigeria left out in terms of discussions, consensus, and what exactly has to change. Ninas is the only group that has placed in black and white on the table. I want us to listen carefully. That has placed on the table exactly what is wrong in clear description. Exactly what has to be done in clear description. Exactly who has to do it in clear description. How it can all be done in terms of sequence. The 5-point proposition of the Nina's constitutional force majeure settles this. Every other talk about let's go restructure, let's go to 1963. The ones who are saying let's go back to 1963, have you asked yourself where that will leave the middle belt? Or even the minorities of the East, so-called, the Jordan and the Efik, there was an incomplete decolonization. The minorities were left in the belly of the majority ethnic groups. In the north, the middle belt left in the belly of the caliphate. In the east, the minorities left in the belly of the majority Igbo. In the west, if not for 1963, where they were chasing Awolowo around to divide his kingdom, middle belt would still have been, Midwest will have still been in the belly of majority Yoruba, Western region. These are the kind of things. The British have gone away. Why will it be impossible for us, 63 years after, this is the 64th year, why will it be impossible for us to sit down and work out what was not done? We saw what transpired in Lancaster House. Why will it take mischief to begin to grant everybody what they wanted in discussion that was not given to them? So on the day of trouble, you go and cut out the Midwest to beat down Awolowo. On the day of Biafra declaration, you go and cut off the eastern minorities that wanted their, a region of their own. Why didn't you grant it? Why didn't Willings Commission, grant it to them at the time? Who knows what will happen now in the Middle Belt that they will say, okay, let's go and do this and do that. So all those shenanigans will lead nowhere. The ones who want to go and do state police, you want to give guns to these governors we have seen in this manner, instead of going to where, what is arms and ammunition doing on the exclusive list in a federation? The governors will be more than happy to take up guns. You of course know who they are going to face face with those guns. Their political opponents will become the new criminals in town. What you call state police, what is wrong in settling this matter? There's no piecemeal approach to this matter that will take you anywhere. You go and create state police. Where's the money to finance? Because the economic assets are still in the hands of that illicit federal government. Where would the Niger Delta get the money to finance what it will take to have a police service, a police force that can police their kind of environment? When you are still holding on to the economic assets, you are holding the one of everybody, federal government. So if you go and create state police in the manner they are approaching it now, ad hoc, knee-jerk, you are going to give guns. You saw what happened to the East ESN in the so-called ESN in the East. You give guns to people, you are not going to be able to, because you don't have the economic resources you require to be able to finance. And if you have police and the source of the crimes are not addressed, is that the solution to the problem? You don't want to work out electricity that will encourage production. You don't want to provide the other things that will become basis of engaging your populace to do things that will enhance their lives. You want to go and point guns at them so that you can get to the next election and get to become senator and get more people to protect you from the people who you are ruining their lives under this constitution. All those things will fail. And once you give out those guns, the opponents that these governors are going to be chasing around, look, just close your eye and take a random look around and see what these states as we have them were not created to advance the interests of the populace. It's just a matter of network of political settlements. You hold this one there, you hold this one, council area, not for development, not for any kind of provision of any service to anybody. It's just sharing of money, stakeholdership, and permanent agency. Once you come in, you have come in. You finish as governor, you go and be minister. You finish as minister, you go to Senate. The ones who were in Senate will come down to go. Just, a gang of determined criminals. And I use the word criminal advisedly. Anybody who is prepared to swear to defend and uphold this fraud is a criminal, the worst type of criminal. There's no thief that is more guilty of any crime than any one person, whether he's council chairman or his governor or his president, that is prepared to swear to defend and uphold this falsehood that is destroying the lives of over 200 million people, rendering black people impotent. Because it's Nigeria that can, we heard it from Mandela, we heard it from Lumumba, Nigeria is holding the destiny of the black man down. And this constitution is directly responsible for how Nigeria is holding the destiny of the black man. You may decide to argue foolishly, but when Nigeria gets to you, in your space, you will come to repentance, maybe with head already severed. That's how bad the situation is. And we don't have the luxury of time in the manner we think, that we can do it at any time. The people who are being tormented are also being rallied into a joint jailbreak. A choice will have to be made. Those who are holding them hostage because they've gathered themselves in the refuge camp they call Abuja, the refuge camp for regional renegades that we call Abuja Federal Capital Territory. That's where the people who are tormenting everybody everywhere gather to share, because they are so far away from the people they claim to speak for. The governors are in the states too, state capitals, very far removed from where their people live, where the votes will have to come from on the day of election. But they all subscribe to this constitution. They swear to defend and to govern by it, knowing fully well that the people are going to die. The money they make, the humongous sums of money they make, with the immunity that prevents you from asking them any question, with spare key to the treasury provided by the appropriation provisions, and the fact that the constitution absolves them of responsibility towards you. Those are the things that make it something they want to keep at all costs, something they will do everything to resist any change to. They want this constitution so that they can make their billions. But you will also perish in your penury. Plot a graph since 1999. How has the life of the politician gone? You will see a smooth flight, straight line up. Check the figures. What were they making in the time past every year coming to now? You will see, this is what you see on the graph. The people, where did you meet them in 1999? Here. Where have they gone? This way, this way. They are now going under one after. Once you get to the bottom, you fall under. That's where they say people died. People dying of hunger in a country that has the potential to feed half of humanity. I mean, at least a quarter of humanity. If what is in this place is harnessed. And so it brings us to where the objective of the force majeure to knock down this constitution and end the stupid union of debt that comes with it has been achieved. Where we go next is rallying those who have been locked into that prison they call Nigeria. Whether it's the Yoruba that want Odua Republic, or the Igbo or the East that want Biafra Republic, whatever it is, or the Niger Delta that want the return to controlling, to owning and controlling their resources, or the middle belt that is without defense and help for being slaughtered in their own ancestral space. Everything you look for, every change you look for, or the young people that want to see a better country, that say they want to take back their country. Young people, this is who took your country. Those who are rallying you to take back your country. It is by taking down this constitution that you are able to take back your country. Every other thing you are doing is a product of ignorance or dishonesty on the part of the people leading you to say, oh, let's go and replace them in government house. It's not the people in government house that took your country. It is the constitution that took your country and handed to them in the manner they are managing it. The constitution mandated the corruption you see. I've cited the sections to you. They don't owe you obligation. They have the spare key to the treasury. Go and check section 81 and 82. Ask the lawyers you know, especially the ones that go to run their mouths on TV. Ask them whether the president does not have spare key to the treasury. And the governors in section 121, 122. Ask them whether under section 308, the kind of immunity you have there. So they don't owe you obligation in section 6C. They have the spare key to the treasury in section 81, 82 for president, 121, 122 for governors. They all have immunity. You can't question them in all the 8 years they might be in office. They don't. So what country are you taking back? You are slaves in that. You are slaves in that country. The slave have no rights, human right, even right to life. You don't have any right at all under this constitution. So to take back your country is to take down this constitution. Anybody who is rallying you to come, let us go to government house so that the PDP will replace APC or Labour Party replace PDP, they are lying to you. We challenge them, get this video, bring them to answer to it. If they dare, if they think they have answers, let us have a debate. Let us have a debate. The media have been pretending they do not understand what is being discussed. We will not say any more thing to you. But when the flood will come, It will carry everybody, including the media that is pretending around this subject matter. Every day you tune the TV, they are discussing inanities, inconsequentials. Who has rigged more? Who has stolen what? You leave the robbery gang intact, and you're coming to entertain me with the story of another goat that was stolen. Yesterday you discussed chicken that is stolen. Today you bring goat. Next day they say cow is stolen. But you do not want to partake in the discussion about the robbery gang that we are saying, let us dismantle this robbery gang. Nigeria is a criminal enterprise under this constitution. Everything you see, whether people are killing people or stealing the treasury dry, or even the impunity of saying, what can you all do to us, in the manner we see all the time. This is where it's flowing from. And so, if the media is not prepared to join that discussion, if Labour Congress is not prepared to join that discussion, then you have chosen to die in your misery. Those planning revolution, the revolution is to join in saying we cannot continue in a constitution that render us slaves in our homeland. If you are not doing that, ignorance, dishonest, or both. That brings me to, what shall we do now that we have defeated this constitution? Sooner than you can imagine. In fact, we're looking at this first quarter, which will end at the close of March. We did announce in December of 2023 that by the time the first quarter is winding down, we'll be inviting, Ninas will be making an altar call. That altar call is to separate countrywide those who now reject this constitution as the source of their misery. This basis of union is also your source of misery. They will be told what to do to stand on one side. Everybody else will be counted as being on the side of the enemy that imposed this constitution, that is enforcing this constitution on all of us. Once that altar call is made, then the country will see the number of people who have rejected this bad arrangement in comparison with those who are trying to enforce it against everybody. That is the logjam that will have to be resolved by transition. There will be no other way. And let me say it on behalf of Ninas just one more time. The choices available to everybody now is either, including the government, either we calmly surrender to this superior plan that accommodates everybody, because we have not asked those in government house to go to die. We have said, come so that we can go to transition. Like South Africa went to transition in 1990 to resolve the apartheid quagmire, the apartheid bind. Let us know that either we accept to go and solve the problem now, or that is surrender unconditionally to this superior plan, this comprehensive plan, or we get ready for comprehensive defeat. That crowd of people we are throwing, there was a governor that poured bread on the floor of a warehouse, and people were falling on top of one another to take as many. Maybe the people came in before they made the arrangement for how to share it to them. They saw it and came in and began to fight over it. You saw people who were being flogged in Lagos for small loaves of bread. You saw people who were in market who dropped. You saw the woman that had a child that dropped, fainted, hadn't eaten for 3 days. You saw how that child was. These are the kind of people you are governing, and you are taking 30 billion to go and buy food. What? All that has come to an end. We either go to solve this problem, or it will come upon us because we have remained adamant and unthinking. We stop here.